Miami Dolphins 22, Dallas Cowboys 20. Dolphins move to 11-4. Cowboys fall to 10-5. This was a fun one, man. This was like, a lot of times people think the best game is the 30-27 or the 40-37, those types of games, 22-20. But it's just a really good back and forth game between two high-level teams, you know?
Yeah, and what looked early like it might be a shootout, you know? Like Dallas moved the ball early. Miami went for it on 4th and goal. Now they failed, but they went for it on 4th and goal down at the 5, suggesting that they thought it would be a shootout as well.
Yeah.
Like, we need touchdowns, not field goals for this game. And it wasn't. Like, they neither team sort of ran away with it offensively. Miami's pass rush really started getting after Dak Prescott. They were without Tyron Smith, so, you know, left tackle was a problem in the game. But, yeah, it was a fun game.
So big play in this one. Dallas scores was the first touchdown. Yeah, they go up 7-3, 49-yarder to CD Lamb, and there was some talk before the week about Jalen Ramsey. Should he be shadowing CD Lamb? It's really not a Vic Fangio thing to do. They've played with a little bit, but a lot of the Fangio tree generally doesn't like to do that because they're about too high structure and disguising within that, and you lose some of that structure when you start shadowing. But CD Lamb was in the slot and gets matched up with Deshaun Elliott against the blitz and just runs away from the defense for the 49-yarder. So that kicked off that was the first touchdown.
And that was after, so Dallas had fumbled at the goal line.
Yeah.
Like they had gone down the field and then couldn't even give the fullback the ball. Like just couldn't exchange, like couldn't hand it off. Fumble the ball away. Miami gets it.
And he would have been in, like if they just executed the handoff,
yeah.
He was in, right?
Right. And that, I mean, you look at the end of the game, it's like, uh-oh. One of the first plays in the game, it ends up determining the outcome of this thing.
Yeah, I mean, then you get into the fourth quarter. Miami's up 19-10. Dallas kicks a field goal to make it 19-13. So you get that, the ominous 6-point lead, right? You know,
yeah.
touchdown wins it. Dak and the Cowboys go 17 plays for 69 yards. And they had a 4th and 2 holding call to prolong the drive, but Dak eventually hits Brandon Cooks for the 8-yard touchdown to go up 20-19, which set up Miami in about a 3-minute drill, basically, for the game-winning field goal. They convert a couple third downs, including a really key 3rd and 2.
Yeah, screen to Tyreek.
Well, there's a 3rd and 3 to Tyreek, screen, and then a 3rd and 2 run to Jeff Wilson.
Yeah.
Where it was like, look, Dallas's run defense, they got smoked the week before against Buffalo. Mm-hmm. They were much better in this game. But when they needed it, linebackers out of position, Mozzie Smith moved off the ball. They needed it on 3rd and 2. They needed this stop. Miami gets the first down. They basically run the clock till 2 seconds and kick the game-winning field goal to seal the deal.
Yeah, the Dallas defense just couldn't stop Miami on that final drive where they needed to. And, you know, we gave Dan Quinn a lot of praise in recent podcasts for all the adjusting and all the making changes and consistently evolving this defense. Well, now there have been problems on this defense for a couple of weeks, and whatever adjustments are being made haven't had enough of an impact yet. They've been exposed in back-to-back weeks against some pretty good teams. But going back, like, it was only 7-3 when Miami went for it on that 4th and goal down by the 5. But before that, we had Dallas marching right down the field and then fumbling at the goal line. Miami had been inches away from a Tua to Tyreek bomb touchdown. Like, he lined up, was it a slot fade or was it just a fade from the outside? But either way, Tua left it just a bit too far outside so that Tyreek couldn't quite adjust back over his shoulder and bring it in. But the cornerback had kind of gone to undercut it, and because it was thrown outside, the corner had like taken himself out of the play. If he comes up with that, not only is it a bomb wherever the catch point was, but he's probably taken it that distance for a touchdown. So you have missed touchdown there, missed touchdown previously, then CeeDee Lamb does that classic CeeDee Lamb catch and run touchdown, and then Miami down at the goal line. So they're looking at that saying, we could have had 4 touchdown drives in the first couple of minutes. This is going to be a high-scoring game. We need to go for it on 4th and 5. And then the game just kind of cooled off from that point.
You talking about that first Tyreek Hill deep ball that kind of like awkwardly hit his hands?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just saying. Yeah, then Tua came back with the 50-yarder to Waddle right after. Like, Tua dropped, looked like 2 dimes early.
I think that first one was thrown too far outside.
Think so?
Yeah. I think he could have potentially caught it, but that was thrown outside where it needed to be.
I have to say, like, when Tua and Dak, they both made some big plays, left some on the table, missed some throws. When Tua's on, and again, he's going to be tested a ton these next couple weeks. Ravens and Dolphins. Dallas was a test here. But when he's on, man, that offense, just the speed at which they run it, it is interesting, right? Because it's a lot different than Purdy in the Niners. It looks different. Purdy's a little bit longer developing.
Yeah.
And, Tua's just throwing to space.
Yeah, well,
very early.
It's like the opposite end of the strength spectrum that so Brock Purdy's biggest asset that he brings to that 49ers offense is actually the late in the down creativity and the being able to pull a play out of nothing when the offense itself is broken down. Like, he can take what's being given to him and then he adds a layer on top of that isn't there in the offense. Tua, his biggest strength is actually, I'm going to supercharge what the offense is already doing and just hit the play so early that those guys have so much space to run into and maximize that. Like, I'm gonna maximize what the offense is giving to me, but I'm not gonna add much to it on the back end.
Right.
Whereas Purdy is doing a really good job of the first part and then adding a layer at the back end, and they're getting to sort of similar places through radically different approaches.
But I'm saying, even when they're working through progressions, it's like Tua is going to get to read 2 and 3.
Yeah, he's faster than anybody.
Super fast.
Pretty much.
Purdy is like this combination of like patient. He's just patient with it too, right? He's like, 1 to 2 to 3. I'll get to 3 when I get there, and then I'll throw this pinpoint throw most of the time, because of course he was horrible last night and threw 4 picks. But it's just interesting seeing it. Same system, run differently and with different style players, right? Miami's just pure burners, and the Niners have all sorts of just different style mismatch weapons. Real impressive win by Miami. Okay, so coming in, both of these teams had this question of beating good teams and the whole thing. Dallas still has that question about beating good teams on the road, and Miami, checkbox, right? They handled this one, but Ravens and Bills now coming up for the Dolphins, who have the number 1 seed in sight. If they beat Baltimore, if they win out, Miami's the number 1 seed. So they've got that opportunity here.
Yeah, I mean, it was a big game for both teams. Obviously, Miami kind of get the narrative part of getting the win at the end. I sort of feel like Dallas shouldn't. I don't think that this should necessarily sort of fall into the same bucket of, well, Dallas can't get it done. I mean, they were really close. They did take the lead. They made it so that Miami had to win at the very death, and that was the difference. But it showed that they can do this against a really good team still, even if they didn't quite.
That's why I'm saying it did feel like I thought Baltimore San Francisco would feel more like a heavyweight battle back and forth. This Dallas Miami game felt like that. They both engineered fourth quarter comeback drives. The Dolphins just had the ball last, right? And they did it, man. Impressive win by Miami. And yeah, I wouldn't be kicking myself if I'm the Cowboys.
Right.
Certainly hurts though. They're 10-5 now. They're a game behind Philadelphia in the division. They had an opportunity to be, 4-way tie atop the NFC as far as record goes. So it does look like we're getting closer and closer. Dallas has Detroit this week, another huge one. But Dallas against the NFC South is more and more likely every single week. And like I said, Miami has a chance at that number 1 seed if they can win out.